stressed again, I'm crying in my room, I can't do it, I'm gonna fail. Hi guys, welcome back to my channel, Emma here, and today I'm going to be filming a reacting to your assumptions video. So I asked over on my Instagram for you guys to submit your assumptions about me, so thank you so much to everybody who submitted those assumptions. I know a couple of you said, oh, I'm really sorry to make these assumptions if they're not true, or it feels really uncomfortable making assumptions about you, but don't worry, I'm not offended at all. I did ask you guys to send these for a video, and I think it'll be funny, and no one was mean or anything, and I guess I can just sort of clear the air and let you know if your assumptions about me are true or not. So let's get started. So the first assumption is you are outgoing and very social, and I'd like to say yes, this is true. I do think that I'm quite chatty and loud, and I do like social events. I think sometimes I worry that my personality is too much and I'm too bubbly. I've definitely had some mean people tell me I'm annoying before, and that kind of knocked my confidence a bit, but I've tried not to let that dull my shine because I like to be happy all the time. I like to bring people up. I do like to go out to social events. I definitely feel energized by social events, being around people, but more so people I'm comfortable with. I think I can get tired out quite easily if I'm around people that maybe I don't know so much. I like a party. I like going around and seeing new people. I like to meet new people regularly, and I don't feel nervous in social settings, but yeah, I think it is definitely easier when you're surrounded by a group of people you do know. And that kind of leads me onto another assumption. Somebody said you're an introvert, and I would say that even though I am outgoing and social, I can be introverted. You know the Myers-Briggs personality test? I come out as an ENFJ, if any of you know what that means. Let me know what your personality types are in the comments. But my extrovert-introvert score is about like 60% extrovert, 40% introvert. So as much as I do feel energized and excited by social events, sometimes I can get really, really burned out and I just want to be on my own. I just want to stay in and watch Netflix, watch film, read a book. And I think these days, if I was given the option of, oh, do you want to go clubbing, do you want to go to a party, do you want to go to a pub, I'd much rather stay inside and play board games and watch a film with my friends, or be in on my own and watch a film. I think a lot of that's to do with COVID as well, but whilst I was at university I didn't really go out clubbing and partying a lot. I did prefer to have a quiet night in. My friends always laughed and said I was a bit of a grandma because I like to be in bed at like 9 o'clock and sort of winding down by then and ready to go to bed by 10:30, which I'm still kind of like now. I do like an early night and I'm an early riser. So I would say, yeah, I'm definitely extroverted, but I do need my time alone to recharge my batteries. So the next assumption is you've always wanted to go to Cambridge, and I would say that is definitely true. I've mentioned on my channel before that I first found out about the concept of university and Cambridge when I was about 13 or 14 years old, and the university reached out to my school and said, obviously this is a state school in the northeast, which is quite an underrepresented demographic at the University of Cambridge. Please can you send your top 5 performing students at GCSE level down to Cambridge to see if any of them would be interested in applying in the future. And at Cambridge it's really important for them to do this like access or outreach work to plant the seed early, because I think the earlier you start thinking about it, the more you can really put effort into your GCSE grades, your A-level grades, and tailor your learning towards that path of getting into university. So I think from about the age of 14, when I visited Jesus College, which is the college I ended up attending, I definitely knew this is where I want to be. This is fantastic and amazing, and I didn't know this is what university was like. I didn't know what Cambridge was like, and I've always been a high achiever, a perfectionist. I like to do well. So as soon as I knew like this was the best institution in the UK, I was like, that's where I want to go, and I set my sights on that and made sure I worked so hard. I worked tirelessly to make sure I got the grades so I could get in. So the next assumptions are, I'll lump these two together, I think. So you are confident about your looks and you get hit on a lot, but you're quite shy about it. So I am definitely not confident about my looks at all. I was debating about whether I should talk about this on my channel because it is quite personal, but I do suffer from like low self-esteem. I'm not very confident. I didn't have a great time at school, and I wouldn't say loads of people hit on me at school by any means. I was a bit of a loser, a bit of a nerd. I always had my head in textbooks and I was in the library a lot. And yeah, so I think I'm definitely not the most confident person about my looks, but I'm trying to get better and trying to have a positive mindset, give myself compliments all the time, try not to put myself down. But I really struggle with comparing myself to other people. Obviously, I'm very competitive academically, and that competitive nature definitely flows into other aspects of my life, like my talents, my abilities, the way I look. I'm always comparing myself, and I think I've always been like that at school, and especially at university when you're competing against the best of the best. You're always comparing yourself to other people and trying to be the best version of yourself. And at school I was quite insecure and not very confident as well, which is why I think I put so much into my academics, because I thought, oh well, you know, if I don't have looks, then at least I can invest in my brain. But yeah, it's a learning process, and we all gotta love ourselves more and try and give ourselves compliments more and stop comparing yourself to other people. That's my best bit of advice, and I'll start to try and listen to that piece of advice too. So the next assumption is you are organized. Now, this is definitely true. I am so organized. I take great pride in having lots of stationery and timetables and a diary and planning everything out. I'd always plan my revision well. I've spoken about this a couple of times on my channel as well, but since school I've always been super organized, always revising on time, never getting into trouble at school, always handing my homework in on time, getting my assignments at uni in on time and to a high standard. So yes, I would definitely say I'm very organized, to the point where I can actually be a little bit rigid with my schedule, and I struggle if things don't go to plan to deal with that, because I like everything to go the way I've planned it. But I'm definitely getting a lot better at adapting to new changes, and I think a lot of that's down to my job, because every morning I'll come in and I won't know what I'm working on until my manager tells me that morning, oh, we've had this bit of work come in overnight, can you drop what you were doing yesterday and move on to this? So you've got to get used to just jumping on to the next project that comes as and when you're needed. So I definitely think I'm becoming more flexible now, but at Cambridge I was definitely very rigid with my routine. I like to have the same routine every day, put the same amount of hours of studying, revision in, and I used to like have the same routine for writing my essays, like this many days to read and this many days to plan and this many days to write, and then I'd hand it in like 2 days before submission. I think my dissertation I was ready to hand, well, both of them in my final year, I was ready to hand both of those in about 2 months before the deadline, which is just like classic me. But yes, definitely very organized. The next assumption is that I'm confident. I suppose I've touched on this in terms of how I look, but not necessarily like academically and my ability in that sense. So I've told you guys before, I really suffered with imposter syndrome while I was at university, which meant I felt like I didn't deserve to be there, I wasn't good enough, everybody else was better than me, and it meant that I overworked to compensate for this lack in ability that I thought I had. And then obviously I started to get really good grades and I was receiving awards for doing so well, and that was like the confidence boost I needed. I think for me, I need constant like positive affirmation that I'm doing well, or it needs to show in my grades to verify that I'm doing well. Like I need that as a way of marking my progress. So I think I definitely started to gain confidence when I actually started to see the fruits of my labour and the actual results from my hard work and my revision at Cambridge. And I think I did come away from university as a lot more confident person. I thought, you know what, you did that. If you could do Cambridge, you could do anything. My mom always says to me, like, if ever I have something stressful coming up, like an interview or a stressful day at work or something, or when I have my Cambridge exams, she'd say, if you could do a Cambridge University interview and you were still a child, because like, how old are you when you apply for that? Like 16 or something? I don't know, maybe I'm wrong. 16, 17? She was like, if you can sit a Cambridge University interview with 4 different professors at the age of 16 when you're literally still a child, then you can do anything. And I definitely think that now, like whenever something gets hard, I tell myself, you did Cambridge, you could do anything. So I definitely came away more confident from that. And after I'd written my 3 dissertations, I definitely thought, you know what, I'm really happy with that bit of work, and I worked really hard, and I'm very proud of what I achieved, very proud of what I had to say and what I had to contribute to the critical debate. So I would say I definitely became more confident in that aspect. So the next assumption is you are very good at choosing friends, and this one was actually submitted by my best friend Anastasia. So yes, I would like to say I'm definitely good at choosing friends. I love you so much, Anastasia. Shout out to you if you're watching this, and all of my uni friends as well. Like I'm so lucky to have those guys. I'm so glad that I found them. We're just, they're my kind of people, you know? Like, we're all just friendly, nerdy, head down kind of people. And we have similar interests, like board games and music tastes and things like that. And I love it when my friends do nice things for me. They definitely make me feel loved and appreciated. Whether that's like turning up at my house with chocolate and sweets and flowers, or like encouraging me to come out of my room when I was stressing about an essay. My friends are always there for me, so yes, I'd definitely say I'm really good at choosing friends. Or maybe my friends are really good at gravitating towards me. The next assumption is you're a worrier. I am definitely a worrier. I worry about everything. I worry about small details. I overthink things all the time. I always like overanalyze things I've said in conversations after I've had conversations, and sometimes I end up messaging people like, my tone didn't come across wrong, did it? I didn't mean to say that, and I hope I didn't offend you. And they're like, Emma, chill, like you didn't say anything wrong, stop worrying, stop overthinking things. I like stress myself out with like embarrassing situations. If I do something embarrassing in front of someone, I will not stop thinking about it for years and years and years later. I'll be like, oh, I remember that really embarrassing thing I did when I was 14, and I'm like 22 or nearly 22 now. And I definitely worry. I worried so much about exams. I used to get really stressed, make myself feel physically sick about the stress of it all. I used to cry a lot at university, but that is the reality of it. Like, I am a stressy person, and I think it's so important to have good coping mechanisms in place and make sure you talk to the relevant people around you that can help, like friends, family. I used to speak to my professors regularly when things got on top of me. Like, I remember all through exam season, I'd email my supervisor, or my director of studies as we called them at Cambridge, and I'd be like, Christopher, I'm stressed again, I'm crying in my room, I can't do it, I'm gonna fail. And he'd be like, come to my room now. And I'd come, and he'd like have a box of tissues out and be like, you've got this. Like, he'd give me a pep talk, and he'd be like, you always get like this 2 weeks before the deadline, Emma, you did this last year, you did it the year before. Or like, when I'm like stepping up to something more difficult, like the jump from first year to second year and second year to third year, I'd be like, this is overwhelming, I can't do it, I'm too stressed. And he'd be like, you did this last year, and remember, you made it through last year, stop worrying, I believe in you, you've got to believe in you. And I really needed that, and I'm so thankful for the amazing professors I had at university. Like, they really kept me going. Like, they were so supportive and lovely, and I couldn't have wished for better. But yes, definitely a worrier. The next assumption is you don't take enough credit for your achievements, and this kind of links with the confidence thing again. It's a difficult one because I definitely downplay my achievements. If someone's like, whoa, that was amazing, like you studied at Cambridge, I'm like, oh, it was nothing, it was quite difficult. And I'm getting used to being like, yeah, you know what, you're right, like I did survive Cambridge, and I did pretty well at it too. I need to definitely give myself more credit for my achievements and think, wow, I really did achieve that. And I think Cambridge was that big turning point for me to be able to say, wow, I actually did that. Same with my A-levels. Like, when I worked so hard for it and the result was getting my Cambridge University place, I was like, wow, well done, like you did it. Like, pat on the back for past Emma for doing all of that hard work and getting through that and sitting those exams and getting current Emma to where she wants to be today. So I do struggle with taking credit for my achievements, definitely. And I struggle when people give me compliments. Like, I used to do A-level art and things, and when people would say, wow, your art's so good, I'm like, oh, well, I could improve the shading here, and I'm not really happy with this bit. Or, I really like this essay you've written, Emma, and I'd be like, oh, but I wasn't really happy with the wording of it, and the structure didn't really come through, and I didn't really get my message across the way I wanted to. So I'm definitely my own worst critic, but I am learning to give myself better credit for my achievements. The next assumption is you prefer modern authors, books and art. I don't think this is true, because at university my specialism was like medieval literature. I really found an interest in that, and I think a lot of it was because most people didn't enjoy medieval literature. So when I had a natural ability for it, as my professor said, I mean, I wouldn't say I had a natural ability for it, but one of my professors said, oh, you're a born medievalist, and like, I think that little compliment was enough to make me be like, whoa, I should pursue medieval. I'm doing well at it, and I actually enjoy it, and nobody normally enjoys medieval. So I think, I'm not sure I'm super into modern art. Sometimes I find it a bit weird, and I'm like, I just don't get it. And then, like, it reminds me, I did this comedy sketch when I was at school. I think it was called Art, and the idea was like, these guys were standing in front of a blank white canvas, and they were like, oh, look how beautiful it is, look at the lines, look at the whiteness, look at the meaning in the canvas. And it was literally a blank canvas, and that was the comedy sketch. And I kind of feel like that's me in a modern art gallery, where I can see people around me like, yes, look at that colour blue, it really speaks to me. And I'm like, huh? No, like, I do appreciate some modern art, or a lot of modern art, and I'm really into art, modern art books, things like that. But I definitely think I prefer, for studying like medieval stuff, and as I've said before, I really liked language, linguistics, etymology, philology, that sort of stuff. The way language has evolved over time, so I definitely like tracing it back to its roots, back to sort of Anglo-Saxon times and stuff, older stuff. But I also did do dissertations on modern poets like Gerard Manley Hopkins and Ezra Pound. I was gonna say Hopkins isn't uber modern, he's like, is he like late Victorian, I think, if I remember correctly. But they were the more modern authors I did study, but I always found a way of bringing it back to look at the way they're using medieval languages and medieval tropes and borrowing from medieval poems. So I did definitely find a way of bringing my modern stuff back to the old stuff again. But I think my choice of like reading for leisure is definitely more Victorian period, romantic period, purely from like an enjoyment perspective. I don't actually like analysing or writing about that sort of stuff, but I really like Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte, or anything by the Bronte sisters, like Wuthering Heights, Tenant of Wildfell Hall. I really liked The Woman in White by Wilkie Collins, and I'm currently reading The Moonstone by Wilkie Collins, and I'm really enjoying that as well. So that's my sort of era for leisure reading. The next assumption is you really like to talk about books, but you aren't sure anyone wants to hear what you have to say. And if I'm honest, I can actually feel a bit shy about talking about books, because even though I have a degree in English from Cambridge, I definitely think I'm not as well read as other people out there. I don't carve out enough time to read as other people do. I definitely don't read as much as the other study tubers out there. When I see them, like, I've read 150 books this year and I'm struggling to hit like 30. I do kind of feel like, oh gosh, maybe I don't love English as much as other people do, and maybe Cambridge did get it wrong. But I need to push that thought out of my head. But I can feel a bit shy about talking about things in case I'm not saying anything clever, or people I'm worried people have high expectations for me to say something really interesting about books, and I find that if I'm not in an academic setting, that I won't really have an interest in commentary on a book if I've read it for fun. I don't pay as much attention to detail. I still absorb the details, but I definitely think reading for analysis and for university is very different from reading for leisure, and your brain is switched on in two very different ways. So sometimes I come away from reading for fun and I forget the plot like a week later. I forget what I'd read, I forget the key themes and things. If someone's like, oh, have you read this book? I'm like, yeah, but I can't tell you what happened in it, like completely forgotten. But if you asked me to tell you about the things I'd study for university, I'd have a lot of in-depth, quite complex critical analysis to say on it all. So I don't know, it's very different. I think I'd have a lot to say in an academic setting, but maybe not outside of university. The next question kind of links to that as well. So you like socializing but love being home with a good book, and yeah, I'd say that's true, both. I don't have a preference one over the other. I think it's a balancing act. As I said, I'm like 60-40 introvert, extrovert, introvert. So I think after COVID, I'm definitely very keen to get back out and start seeing people again, but I have enjoyed this time alone by myself. I actually find it really difficult to motivate myself to pick up a book as well. Like once I like dedicate a specific amount of time for it, I could sit and read it for a long time, but sometimes I get a bit like fidgety and I'm like, I start reading and then I stop again, and then I lose interest, and then I want to do something else, because I like doing like quite active things like filming a YouTube video or learning a language or going on a run. So sometimes I find reading can be a bit mundane and static, and I'd rather be up and doing something more energetic. But I definitely think my favourite time to sit down and really get consumed in a book is summer. Like, I like to just sit in the sun and I can sit all day with a book. Whereas if I'm like, oh, I'll try and read a chapter before bed, I find that really boring, and I'm quite sleepy at night, so I don't really want to read. I'd rather do something more mindless, like watch a film or FaceTime. I'm just gonna say FaceTime a friend, but like it's not mindless to FaceTime a friend, but you know what I mean. Like reading, it requires a lot of concentration, I think, that my brain just doesn't want to do at nighttime. And the final assumption is you really like fashion. So I suppose this is true. Like, I like to dress nicely. I really love shopping. I like having a nice wardrobe and buying new clothes because it makes me feel good, but I'm not into like high fashion. I don't follow like fashion magazines and fashion trends and things. I just wear what I like, but I definitely do enjoy styling myself and buying nice new outfits and showing those to you guys on Instagram, and you guys seem to like those as well. But yes, I'm not super into like branded goods. I'm not bothered about spending hundreds and hundreds of pounds on fancy designer dresses and handbags and shoes and things. I'd rather just like pick something nice that I like to wear, and if that's something cheap from like a thrift store or like a charity shop, then I would also wear that. I definitely wouldn't be snobby about it and be like, oh, that's not Gucci. Like, that's not me. So yeah, I would say I like fashion, but not like high fashion or fashion magazines. So that's all the assumptions for today. Let me know in the comments below, did you get your assumptions right about me, or did anything surprise you about me? Did you expect me to be shy or loud or super confident or not so confident? Like, let me know what you had to think about me before this video. That's kind of scary, like, tell me what you think about me. But I hope you guys found this really interesting, and you seem to like these like getting to know me kind of videos. My Q&A did really well last time, so comment below if you'd like to see more videos like this, or let me know any specific videos you'd like me to film. But until next time, bye guys.